Elite Facts presents
10 real ghost stories that will shock you to death.
10.
A few years ago, a guy was visiting his brother and his family, who lived in a very old Victorian house. He was snuggling with my niece on a futon in the playroom when suddenly, in the middle of the night, the TV turned on, full blast, with a static screen. The 3-year-old niece jumped out of bed and ran to the TV, shutting it off. When he asked her how she knew the TV would turn on, she shrugged, saying they turn it on every night at this time, and fell right back to sleep.
9.
A girl was home alone watching TV when she saw something moving in the master bedroom. She strained her eyes to see a woman walking out of the closet to the other side of the room. She stopped, looked at her, put her finger to her lips, then turned around. There was blood on her face, and the back of her head was missing. She vanished back into the closet. She moved when it was found that the mysterious small hole in the ceiling of her bedroom was from a previous tenant who shot himself in that exact spot.
8.
A mom and son were working one day in the store they own when her cell phone rang. The caller ID said "home" with their number below it. She looked at her son calmly and asked, "Who's at home?" The father was at work and sister was at college. Their grandma, who used to live with the parents, had passed away about 6 months prior. But then he remembered they didn't have a home phone because after the grandma passed, the mom shut off the landline since they all had cell phones. When they called the number back, it had been disconnected.
7.
A girl woke up one night having to pee and brought her cell phone to the bathroom. While walking down the hall and texting, she bumped into a girl in a white dress. She didn't look up, said sorry, and kept going. It occurred to her moments later that she was home alone and not in her bustling high school. The next day, when her boyfriend came to pick her up for the movies, he asked why she'd been staring at him through the upstairs window and why she'd changed out of her white dress. But she doesn't even own a white dress.
6.
A young woman had a neighbor who was a lovely old man. He would always work in his garden and she'd walk past his house daily, so spoke often. One day she saw him and said hello, but got no response. Not wanting to bother him, she carried on home. A few days later, she saw a removal van and people outside of his home. She was told that the man had gone hiking a week ago, had a heart attack, and died. They'd just recovered his body. He had been dead for a week, but she had seen him just days earlier.
5.
Once, a mortician was preparing a child for a viewing and felt someone pull his hair. A couple minutes later, he heard a giggle and the behind him door slammed shut. All of his machines stopped and it was dead quiet. After he was done and the body was dressed, he felt a tap on his shoulder and warmth around his middle, approximately where a child would stand if they were hugging you.
4.
A kid used to share a paper route with his brothers and would deliver to a lady named Margie. Since she was old and lived alone, one of them would take the paper inside and check on her. One day, he went in and she was asleep on the bed, so he put the paper on the table and left. The next day, she was asleep again, hadn't opened the paper from the day before. The following day, he went in and Margie was awake. She said she was very happy and held his hand. But the next morning, there were cars outside her house. Apparently, Margie had died in her bed 3 or 4 days before. I had spoken to and hugged her about 24 hours earlier when she was already dead.
3.
As a kid, a young boy lived with just his mom. Every few nights after she went to bed and turned off all the TVs, he'd hear a man and woman casually having a quiet conversation in the kitchen area. He always had to concentrate really hard to make sure he was actually hearing something because it was so faint he couldn't make out the words. This continued for years, and he thought his mom wouldn't believe him if he told her. After they moved out, he finally told her. She said she'd always experienced the same thing.
2.
As a kid, a young girl's family moved into an apartment where a murder had been committed prior to them living there. Every night, her big sister would make her shut their bedroom window, and when she'd look outside, she'd see 3 faces staring back at her. They had no hair, eyes, or expressions. They'd just stare, but never did anything. After moving out, the family was talking about that apartment, and she mentioned the faces. Her sister turned to her, shocked. she said that she saw them too, and that's why she always asked her to close the window.
1,
When a woman's son was a few months old, she was trying to record his laugh on her phone. She used to bounce him on her knee and say numbers before each bounce. When she played the recording back, you hear the little child laughing as she counts 1, 2, 3, and after she said 3, you could hear a man's voice clearly say 4. There was no one else in the house, and the TV wasn't on. When she played it for her friend, she got the goosebumps.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more elite facts.